Good morning and welcome to Talk at 10 with your host, Joan Bryden. Talk at 10 is heard every weekday at 10 a.m. and features guests and interviews from local government officials, those excelling in the arts, specialists in health and well-being, and local experts with information to make your everyday life easier. Now here's Joan with Talk at 10 here on WPCR, PortClintonRadio.com.
Good morning and welcome to WPCR and WPIB Radio. I'm Joan Bryden, your host of Talk at 10. And on today's Friday edition of Talk at 10, I have a very special lady in the studio with me, and her name is Diana Waugh. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Joan.
Well, Diana is an RN and a BSN, and she has written a book called I Was Thinking, Unlocking the Door to Successful Conversations with Loved Ones with Cognitive Loss. And I told Diana before we went on that the reason I wanted her on a Friday show as opposed to turning the page on Saturday is because I am hoping that we have maybe more listeners on the Talk at 10 during the week, because we have a lot of companies and people at work that are able to maybe listen a little more freely than on a Saturday, and I want your message to get out there. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for helping me.
Well, you've evidently been helping a lot of people. I want you to tell your personal story, but first of all, I love the title of the book, I Was Thinking, and Unlocking the Door to Successful Conversations. And you say with cognitive loss, with loved ones with cognitive loss. What is the difference between cognitive loss and dementia or Alzheimer's? Or is it a beginning of it?
Great question. Actually, let's do this. Let's see how many folks in our audience are researchers. Now, if you out there are researchers, then don't listen to my answer. Okay? Because you're going to look at it a little differently than we are. Okay. But if we're family members, if we're church members that have somebody that has memory loss with us, we're going to look at cognitive loss like this. I use that phrase because it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the big umbrella phrase. It doesn't make any difference to us, the non-researchers, why the person has short-term memory loss. And that's really what cognitive loss is. It's as simple as that. Now, of course, it's not simple, but we're going to look at it simplistically for our purposes. It is short-term memory loss. There are over 100 different diseases that can have a consequence of memory loss in addition to whatever else is going on. And what happens oftentimes that makes me so sad is I find families hunting and hunting and hunting for the magic bullet. We're going to take them to this clinic. We're going to run up to that specialist. Now, we've got some tests that will be done next week. While all that's going on, I'm not saying that's not a thing to do, but what's happening to the person is we're losing valuable days because we're waiting until we have that diagnosis before we begin now to do something about it. And unfortunately, short-term memory loss is a progressive problem for most folks, and we're losing out on the good days.
So it's not something you can reverse, right?
It's not reversible. Now, there are medications that you hear of that will slow it down.
But I'm sure
it will not.
Effect from the medications.
Right, right. Some of them are pretty good. They don't have a lot of effects, but what the effect the family's looking for is a fix. The effect is a fix, and the fix doesn't occur. What the best they can do is hold it where it is and hope it doesn't get worse. I think the thing can we talk a little bit about meds and research right here? Okay, let's do that. I think I'm going to step way out on a limb here, but I think one of the biggest frights of the whole issue of cognitive loss is what I'm going to call stranger danger. Alrighty? We use that phrase for children, and we teach children, now be careful of people you don't know, and it can cause problems for you. Here's the deal, I think, with stranger danger. Because, and we'll talk about this a little later on, because as we talk to our loved ones, sometimes our message to them in many ways is, you're not as smart as you used to be. You don't answer the questions right. Can't you remember? We'll literally talk about that word. And so they're sometimes unhappy with us. The stranger that comes in and says, you know what, I can mow your lawn for you if you'd like. Oh, I can help you with that laundry. It'd be no problem. I can take you to the store if you'd like. probably would be a better person to interview than me, because they know how to make friends. They know how to be one of the inside track people. As they continue, I can help you with the dishes. Do you need help with your checking account? I could help you write checks. I need a little money. And then we find the calls that I was getting. For a while, I was running some commercials on WLMB, which is the Christian channel in Toledo, and it made me so sad because the calls I would get would be this: "You've got to help me. My mom has now given $200,000 to a total stranger. Right. What can I do?" Right. And it's almost impossible at that point to say, you drove her away and the friendly stranger came in. Wow. And that's the thing that frightens me most, as we lose time, waste time. I'm not sure what the word is. Mm-hmm. While we're waiting for the magic bullet, oftentimes things are happening that are really not reversible in our relationships.
And Diana, don't you find, at least my perception of this is that we make it more about us than about the person who's forgotten something. It's our expectations, or mom isn't how she used to be, or mom's losing her memory. Okay, well, that's probably going to happen to all of us, but we take it and try to keep them from what we remember as a young person, maybe. I mean, us being younger, like how mom always solved everything, or dad always took care of the lawn, and now he doesn't even know maybe how to use a lawnmower anymore, or whatever. How do you get out of being so wound up in your own stuff to be respectful and take care of our loved one?
Oh, why don't you ask the hardest question first? That is exactly what
question did I ask you? I don't remember that.
No. That is the hardest question. One of the things I talk about all the time is the first thing we have to do is give them up. What? Mm-hmm. I don't really mean give them up. What I mean is give up your expectations of them. And if I might, I'd like to share with you my own personal story.
Please.
Because I always figure if you're going to do something, don't do it halfway. If you're going to make a mistake, I want you to go all the way. Make the biggest, awfulest, worst mistake you can possibly make, okay? Uh-huh. That's what I did. I thought that would be real good. If I were going to cause Mom not to have a good day, I was going to go all the way. Did I plan that? No. Did it happen? Yes. And it happened because exactly what you said, Joan. I didn't want to lose her. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you a little bit about my mom. She was a delightful individual. She was my go-to person. And if she were still with us after today, she would say, "Well, did the interview go well?" And I'd say, "Oh, yes, it was just wonderful. That lady was so nice to me." And then my mom would say, "Well, how many people do you think will hear it?" And I said, "Well, I'm fairly sure it's about 4 million. I always embellished a small amount, okay? Mom actually traveled with me and listened to me speak a lot of the times. Then, and it's hard for you to understand this, but sometimes my mouth opens up, and I would say things that wouldn't be nice to another person. Then I'd call Mom and go, "Guess what I just said to Susie? I shouldn't have said this to Susie. Here's what I said." And I'd tell her, and she'd say, "No, you didn't mean that, did you?" And I'd go, "Yeah, I did." And she went, "Oh, dear." Okay. She always had my back. I lost it. I lost. And it wasn't so much, I said I cared about her, but the issue was I didn't have my support system. Mm-hmm. And the hardest thing for us to do is to look and see who, if I can give up my expectations that they will be like I want them to be, mm-hmm. is there someone there that's extremely delightful? And the answer always is yes. And we want that answer to come sooner than later. I want us to find that person. Once I got it through my little thick head, and the thing you have to know about me, by the way, is I teach this professionally. And still gummed it up royally. Alrighty. Once I got it through my head, we had the most marvelous conversations. I would call her up, and she was an excellent cook. And I would say, "Mom, how do you make a grape pie?" Grape pie, big deal at our house. Yeah. And she'd say, "Okay, you need 2 cups of grapes, and you need." And I said, "No, wait, stop! You're going too fast. I got to get this written down." She'd say, "Then listen faster," and we'd laugh our way through that grape pie recipe over and over and over. But when I was busy dragging her into my world, we didn't talk about anything fun. And so it's really, you're absolutely right. It's ours. And I just came from a session that I did with a group of older folks today. And one of the questions I asked them is, think about what are the strengths that the person that has memory loss still have? What are the strengths? And one of the gentlemen in the group who was suffering said nothing. Very angry, nothing. And he's a very good example of what happens to us. All I can see is what is lost. It's hard for me to say what is still left. One of the ladies shared a wonderful story. She said, my sister wants to help, loves helping. And so she had read my book, and she was trying all my stuff. And she said, I invited her over to help me, and we're going to pick up sticks. And I said to my sister, now, listen, don't break those sticks in two because they're so hard for me to get them in the fireplace. Just leave them full and I'll break them the length I need. And she said, my sister turned to me and said, it's awful hard to fire a volunteer, isn't it? And she said, we have a wonderful time. But she said, I can't, we'll talk about energy maybe later. She said, I can't ask her to work too many minutes in a row because she poops out, and that's a very significant piece of this.
Again, and again, what we were just talking about is on page 14. You're talking about the examples and so on, and something you say is the most challenging yet most rewarding approach to talking with loved ones with cognitive loss is to learn to live in their reality, not yours. And I love that, and I wondered if you would give us an example. It's the following page on how to speak to those with a bit of loss, and how you can turn it around, how so many of us would say, don't you remember, Mom or Dad, that you used to do? And if they don't, they don't. And we get so stuck in that. And I think I would be crushed if my kids were saying to me, don't you remember? Because you're already fearful, or maybe you already understand you're losing some of that memory.
Right. And what happens is early on we do that kind of thing. And I'm sure we all remember times when someone said something or I got angry about something and I no longer remember what it is. All I know is my stomach still hurts. I'm still unhappy. Now, I don't know what it was, what the thing was, but I'm still unhappy. I think they spend a lot of their time with unhappy stomachs. And then when they see my face again, their stomach is unhappy, but they don't remember why.